It's from the 1992 Roadshow, together with a comprehensive guide to buying and collecting antiques, are now available in this illustrated BBC book, Antiques Roadshow 2.
This Tuesday, join Jill Dando and Eamon Holmes at the BBC Holiday Live exhibition at Olympia.
We'll have reports from Sue Cook in Tunisia for a beach holiday where she takes a trek south to the Sahara. Kathy Taylor experiences the pleasure and pain of life at a health farm, and I'll be unveiling the first prize in our competition, a dream trip to Australia. We'll be showing you the final clues and details of how to enter in Holiday Live from Olympia, Tuesday at 7 on BBC One.
Well, BBC Two is heading for Australia shortly, to the land of the Aborigine Wandjina, or water spirits, who they believe created one of the last great wilderness areas left on Earth, with saltwater crocodiles and dangerous snakes in the natural world. On BBC One, Songs of Praise this evening comes from Belfast Cathedral to mark the week of prayer for Christian unity. And Martin Lewis will be meeting Ireland's 4 main church leaders in 15 minutes. Now on BBC One, the news with Andrew Harvey. The time, 6:10.
A sudden upsurge in fighting threatens the Yugoslav peace talks. Reports say Croatian forces are mobilizing for battle. They've regained more territory. The Yugoslav president says it's veritable war. American fighters bomb Iraqi missiles, but Iraq denies its units opened fire. Good evening. Officials at the Bosnian peace talks in Geneva have said the renewed fighting in Serb-held territories in Krajina and Bosnia has seriously undermined peace efforts. The Serb president, Dobrica Ćosić, has called for a debate in the UN Security Council. In Geneva, because of the intensity of the fighting, delegates at the peace conference have been unable to discuss Bosnia's proposed new borders.
Late this afternoon, the convoy carrying Dobrica Ćosić, the president of the Federation of Serbia and Montenegro, reached Geneva airport. He's a veteran nationalist who now seems sincerely to want peace. He called on the UN to force Croatia to pull back. If that doesn't work, he's not ruling anything out.
We should certainly defend our country with all means.
For him, that includes diplomacy, but he's going home to generals in Belgrade who are pressing hard to send federal troops in to fight for their Serb brothers against the Croats. Radovan Karadzic, the leader of the Bosnian Serbs, said he'd stay here to talk peace for as long as necessary, but he said his military commander might have to rejoin his army.
Although maybe General Mladic should go back because we had big fights over there.
Lord Owen and Cyrus Vance wanted to talk about a map of new provincial borders in Bosnia today. Instead, they've been trying to stop the fighting in Croatia. Lord Owen made this appeal to the Serbs.
And we urged the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia and the Bosnian Serbs leaders not to get involved in Croatia at all, to leave this to the United Nations and to the Security Council.
If the fighting isn't contained and then stopped, it will represent the most serious escalation since the war started in Bosnia 9 months ago. A new war between the Serbs and the Croats wouldn't just wreck the peace process. It would have every chance of starting a much wider conflict throughout the Balkans. Jeremy Bowen, BBC News, Geneva.
Fighting involving all 3 groups in Bosnia's civil war has gone on through the day, but the new flashpoint is the Serb enclave inside the Krajina region of western Croatia. Since Friday, it's been under attack by Croat forces trying to regain control of a strategic bridge. In today's fighting near the port of Zadar, the Croats have gained more territory.
2 miles from Zadar port lies the village of Cherno. It straddles the truce boundary and is strategically important. Today it was the turn of the Croats in the ebb and flow of this ugly and confused war. After shelling the village and driving out Serbian forces there, Croatian soldiers entered in triumph. They took down the Serbian flag and replaced it with their own. Cherno is in the so-called pink zone supervised by the United Nations, and French UN soldiers could only stand by and watch as the Croatian troops took control of the village. After 2 days of fighting in the area, many wounded Serbian soldiers are being treated at a hospital in the town of Knin, a little way inland. It's desperately short of medicines and skilled staff.
At this moment, we do not have enough personnel, especially high specialized doctors. Also, there is no enough solutions for intravenous use. There is not enough drugs.
Several of the wounded have died. Each day sees more casualties arriving.
Iraq has denied that its air defense units opened fire on American aircraft last night. It says the ceasefire it announced to mark President Clinton's inauguration will continue. The United States says it bombed an Iraqi missile position after 3 planes from the aircraft carrier Kitty Hawk were attacked while on patrol over the southern no-fly zone.
The target of the Iraqi gunners was an aircraft from the US carrier Kitty Hawk, still on station in the northern Gulf. Its fighters and bombers have been engaged on Operation Southern Watch, the enforcement of the no-fly zone over southern Iraq. Yesterday, 3 jets took off on a routine patrol, 2 of them FA-18 fighter bombers, the third an A-6 Intruder, the Navy's principal bomber. While flying south of the 32nd parallel, the A-6 was fired on by an Iraqi anti-aircraft battery. Using infrared detectors, the crew of the plane pinpointed the guns and dropped a laser-guided bomb containing 1,000 pounds of explosive. The extent of the damage on the ground isn't yet known, but all 3 of the Navy jets returned safely to the carrier during the night. Today, flying operations from the Kitty Hawk have continued. As far as the pilots are concerned, it's business as usual.
This is the latest in a series of incidents in which American planes have either come under fire or have had Iraqi radar locked onto them. By maintaining these patrols, the new administration in Washington is telling Baghdad that its pilots will not be intimidated. Peter Gould, BBC News on the Kitty Hawk.
The Prime Minister, John Major, has again called for Iraq to comply with UN resolutions, saying he wouldn't shed many tears if Saddam Hussein was overthrown. Mr Major was speaking in India at the start of a 6-day official tour.